So you remember the Super Mario Bros. Movie, right? The one with the weird dinosaur people, the dark, rainy city, Bob Hoskins in a red hat looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. But that movie is famous now, a cult classic. People love it ironically. But here's the story nobody tells you. It was never supposed to be a comedy. Was never supposed to be for kids. In fact, the directors wanted to make the darkest, grittiest, most dystopian cyberpunk nightmare Hollywood had ever seen. And the actors? They drank. They fought. They screamed at each other for 45 minutes straight. One of them didn't even know Mario was a video game. This is the story of a movie that broke everyone involved, not because it was bad, but because nobody agreed on what it was supposed to be. Let's go back to 1990. An independent producer named Roland Joffe, the guy who made The Killing Fields and The Mission, bought the film rights to Super Mario Bros. He paid Nintendo $2 million. Not bad, right? Nintendo thought they were getting a harmless kids movie, something cute, something their fans would enjoy. But Joffe had a different idea. He hired directors Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel, the husband and wife team who created Max Headroom. And these two, they had a vision. They looked at the cute, colorful Mushroom Kingdom and said, no, that's wrong. This should be Blade Runner. This should be Batman. This should be dark and scary and serious. Here's what their version looked like. Instead of a magical kingdom, there was Dino Hatton, a gritty dystopian city ruled by dinosaurs who evolved into humans. Instead of Bowser, there was King Koopa, a corrupt corporate dictator. Instead of fire flowers, there were flamethrowers. Instead of cute Goombas, there were giant trenchcoat-wearing monsters with tiny heads. Now here's where it gets chaotic. The script was rewritten 5 or 6 times before filming even started. And during filming, every single day, new pages would show up. The directors wanted to strip away everything that made Mario, Mario. They wanted a cyberpunk nightmare. And the problem? Nobody told Nintendo. Nobody told the actors. Nobody told the writers. The actors stopped trying. Bob Hoskins said, all these rewrites get frustrating, so I don't do too much research. The trick is, don't take the job too seriously. Turn up and do your day's work. His son, who was a big Mario fan, was depressed because his dad didn't know anything about the character. And Dennis Hopper, he just gave up on the character entirely. He said, I don't really bother with it anymore. I just go in and do it scene by scene. I figure it's not going to hurt my character. But then the directors changed his lines without telling him, and that's when he exploded. This is the part everyone remembers. According to actor Richard Edson, who was there, Hopper walked onto the set one day. 300 extras were waiting to film the next scene. It was hot, over 40 degrees in an abandoned cement factory. Hopper was dressed in full King Koopa makeup, sweating, miserable. And he found out at the last minute that the directors had rewritten his lines. He lost it. For 45 minutes, Hopper screamed at Morton and Jankel. So how do you survive a production like that? For Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, drinking was the best option. According to Leguizamo's autobiography, he and Hoskins would take shots of whiskey between takes, every day, to make the misery bearable. And when you watch the movie now, knowing that, you can see it in their eyes. They weren't acting. They were surviving. Leguizamo once accidentally slammed a van door on Hoskins' hand, broken finger, because they were doing a stunt. He had played King Lear on stage. Now he was this. And here's the craziest story from the set. The crew hated the directors. They nicknamed Morton and Jankel the Hydra, because every time you thought you were done dealing with one head, another one would show up to give you conflicting orders. The cinematographer, Dean Semler, who had won an Oscar for Dances with Wolves, was constantly micromanaged. The directors would tell him what lenses to use, what lighting to set up, what cameras to pick. And the crew? According to set legend, some crew members got so frustrated with the director's behavior that they poured hot coffee on them from a scaffolding above. This actually happened. They deliberately dropped scalding coffee on the directors' heads. Now let's talk about Bob Hoskins, because his story is the saddest and funniest of all. Hoskins didn't know Super Mario Bros. Was a video game when he signed on. He just thought it was a movie about a plumber. He found out from his son. What about the directors, Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel? They never recovered. Before Mario, they were hot property. They created Max Headroom. They directed music videos for Elvis Costello and the Pretenders. They had a career. After Mario, nothing. They got blamed for everything. The script chaos, the set fights, the hot coffee incident, the failure. Morton and Jankel tried to defend themselves. But nobody wanted to hear it. They became toxic. Directors you didn't hire. Directors you avoided. They never directed another major Hollywood film again.